Hello, I'm Leon Verrett.
And I'm Vanessa Verrett. And we would like to welcome you to our webcast podcast entitled The Struggle is Real. We will be doing a series of interviews with individuals who have truly discovered that the struggle when it comes to grief is absolutely real.
We're going to prepare for our first interview, the series of interviews, and I'd like to invite you to share these interviews with those that you think may need it. Invite them to take a look. We're trying to help everyone that's hurting. And as a matter of fact, the first interview is an amazing interview. After I finish my little spiel here, talking about how grief is real and normal. Mm-hmm. And in these unprecedented times of COVID-19, of horrible murders in the street by individuals that we should be trusting to protect and to serve, all of these things that are happening, we need all of the help that we can get. So our first interview in the series is none other than my partner in goodness, my best friend, my sweetheart, my wife, Vanessa Verrett. Hello, sweet. Hello, Vanessa. We're going to keep this as professional as we possibly can.
Hi, darling.
We're going to get right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your career, education, or whatever you think is important enough for all of us to understand about yourself.
Okay. Well, I am a Southern girl.
Yes.
I was born in South Carolina. I was educated here in Florence, South Carolina. As a matter of fact, I'd like to give a shout out to all the Wilson High School Tigers.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that.
I continued my education at Francis Marion University, where I graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree. And as far as employment, I worked for a number of years as a performance assurance coach. So that role entailed coaching support reps about their interactions with clients. I also had to develop customer service materials and do customer service training. But what I'm primarily focused on today is grief ministry and getting my book published.
Excellent. So, since we're entitled "The Struggle is Real," let's get right into it. I understand that you have had in your life several losses that impacted you. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I've had several losses that were extremely impacting. My first loss that was personal was my oldest brother. Then it was my mom, my grandmother, my dad, my father-in-law. Then it was my late husband, and finally my baby son.
If you can get a little bit deeper, a little bit more personal, which of the losses took you to a deeper understanding of the struggle and just how real the struggle of grief can be?
Well, of course, every loss is an important one. However, out of all of the losses that I just named, none of them prepared me for the loss of my son. When I got word that he had passed away, it was something that happened very sudden. It was totally unexpected. And when that word came to me, you can imagine for any parent, it was a major body blow. And it affected me. If I could just somehow describe what that
yes,
felt.
Please do.
The best description that I can give is that it felt like someone took a jagged piece of glass and cut my heart out.
Yeah.
You know, it's like without even an ounce of medication for the pain. I just felt like my heart was just bleeding profusely with no stoppage in sight. I mean, it was something that I wouldn't even wish on my worst enemy. You know, hopefully I don't have any, but I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It was absolutely awful. It was horrible. The worst of
Speaking like that, did you get any help? What kind of help did you seek out, or did you try to do it alone? Humanly speaking, I know a lot of people who feel as though that they have the strength and the ability and the Christian fortitude to just handle it alone. What did you do?
Well, of course, initially it was just such a shock. You know, from shock to, you know, disbelief to questioning, to anger, and, you know, not in any particular order, because, you know, my personal experience has been that grief is a cyclical situation, cyclical process. It's not something that's linear where there's an order to it. So at first I was just shocked and in disbelief. But after a period of time, I knew that I was going to need more help than I've ever needed before. And was I praying? Yes, I was praying. I don't know how many times the only prayer that could come out was, "Oh God, I can't believe this happened. Oh God, help me."
Yeah.
So I was praying. I also met with a pastor who counseled me. And in addition to that, I met with a professional counselor. Again, like I said, I knew that I was going to need more this time than ever before. And the Lord led me to go that particular route. And I know that oftentimes, especially among Christians, counseling for some can be taboo. It's as if that faith and counsel cannot coexist. But I tell you from personal experience that faith and counseling can coexist if that's the way you're feeling the Lord is leading you. Because I had to pray about finding the right counselor. And I continued nonstop to have conversations with God. So that was how he led me. So I would encourage anyone who's even considering counseling, but hesitating because of what people might think, that when you're going through something like this, the focus should be you and God, regardless of what other people around us may be thinking. It's about healing. Yeah. And I feel that, you know, I go to a physical doctor when I have physical issues, and at the same time when I'm hurting so intensely emotionally, it is not faithless to seek help in that situation as well. And one of my favorite texts talks about faith without works is dead.
That is an excellent analogy. Physical doctor, physician for pain, a mental health doctor or counselor for hurts and pain. That pain is just as real as a broken wrist, a stubbed toe. So that pain is real. And sometimes only a professional can help you through that pain. Thank you for that. But I need to ask you this, because that was such a powerful situation and a painful situation, gut-wrenching and heart-ripping situation. Has the struggle ended, or does it really ever end? You know, some listening may think that the pain will never subside. What can you tell us about that?
What I can tell you about that is that I'm always going to miss my child. There's always going to be that place in my heart that's missing because he's not here.
Ah.
However, the intensity of that pain is what has decreased over a period of time. Not that, again, that I will ever forget my child. And you who may be listening will never forget your child. But by God's grace, the intensity of that pain is what will lessen. And you will come to a place, as I have, where you can think about your child and actually smile or laugh about something that you remember about him or her.
Wow. Wow. Well, what keeps you on a daily basis? You say there's a certain place in your heart, a certain place in your mind that memory will always be there. You always think about your child. But what keeps you, what strengthens you on a daily basis? What do you do? And then to further go with that, what encouragement or suggestions do you have for those that are listening? What takeaways? What can you do to help others, just as you've been helped in your life?
Well, what keeps me going is the grace of God. You know, death, as I said earlier, is just such a body blow. It can impact you spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. I remember at one point where I would try to read scriptures or some passages, and it would be as if my mind were a sift. It was like I was pouring it in, but it was pouring right back out. I couldn't remember what I had just read. But guess what? I did not give up. I kept reading. I kept feeding God's word into my own life personally, as well as there were others who were praying for me and with me. So what has kept me going is the grace of God.
Yes.
And what I would say to others as far as the takeaway, just know that grief is a customized process. It's an individual process. So I shouldn't compare my walk with anyone else's walk. Even though I may have lost a child and you've lost a child, I shouldn't compare our processing because everyone is different.
Right.
Every processes differently. So don't compare, because you may end up beating yourself up because you feel that you're not at a level where someone else is. So just know that what you're going through is normal. I would also again say, if you feel that you need another step, seek that professional counseling. I actually saw 3 different ones before I found one that I was comfortable with. Keep praying, keep talking to God, seek that counsel, and again, be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up because you feel that you're not in a place where you think you should be. And I want to encourage the people around you to allow grieving people to grieve in the way that they need to, not the way that someone else feels that they should. As long as they're not hurting themselves and they're not hurting anyone else, let them grieve in their own way.
I'm going to do a shameless plug right now, and say, are there individuals in your life that may have helped or are helping in your recovery? Slight shameless plug.
Shameless plug. It's so important to have a good support system. Initially, that support system for me included my oldest son, Donovan, family and friends. My support system now includes my loving husband, who is providing this interview for us. So a support system is very important. Now, there are also groups available, like grief support groups. My husband and I are facilitators for a grief support group. We now have a passion for reaching out to others to try to comfort them, excuse me, with the comfort that God has used to comfort us with. So we want to, which is why we work in our grief support ministry.
Well, Miss Vanessa,
yes,
that about wraps up the interview for now. I appreciate you being so candid and letting people know some important things that culturally and some think they're strong enough to deal with it on their own. Mm-hmm. And you've let us know that we need God.
Yes.
And we need each other.
Definitely.
That is a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for taking this time to interview. May God richly bless each and every one of us. Now, one more shameless plug. You will hear a lot more from Vanessa Hanoverette. And as a matter of fact, she mentioned it in the beginning. Her book is now in the first stages of publication, and is a book that needs to be in the hands of those that have lost loved ones, especially those that have lost children. So keep your ears to the ground for the next interviews and for information on the publishing of her book. And understand this, the struggle is real, but God is in the middle of the struggle with us. God bless you. Bye-bye.